The suicide rate for men under 30, which is my highest viewed demographic, has risen by 40% since 2010. This same generation and Generation X lead the other generations in the suicide rate. White males account for over 70% of all suicides. Women attempt suicide 2 to 3 times more than men do. Speaking statistically, it is likely that you, the viewer, is struggling with a mental illness such as depression, anxiety, extreme stress, OCD, mania, or any of the other illnesses affecting people today. Over 20% of adults have a perpetual mental illness, while nearly 80% of adults each year go through periods of overwhelming stress and anxiety. 50% of adults will be diagnosable for a mental health issue in their lifetime. Taking all this into account, it is nearly 100% probable that everyone knows at least one person struggling with mental health issues. Said another way, it is easier to find someone right now who is mentally unwell than it is to find someone who is mentally well off. Do you think it's always been like that? Well, in short, yes and no. The world has always been a dark place. But our culture today glorifies mental illness to a degree never before seen. Even though we outwardly say that mental illness is horrible and tragic, what is ingrained in us is the exact opposite. If you're not stressed or anxious, you're not working hard enough. If you're not self-conscious or insecure about your looks, it's because you're an oblivious or uncultured hermit. If you're not suffering from OCD, then you're a slob. To sum all this up, what society says is that if you're not mentally ill, then there is something wrong with you. But don't worry, society says, because if you are mentally ill, it's just something wrong with your brain, not our culture and not your lifestyle. You can fix it with a pill. You can shoot electricity into your head to give yourself a seizure with the goal of force resetting your brain. Now, I want to be clear. I am not saying that mental illness doesn't exist as a physical deficiency within our brains. I'm not saying that there isn't biology involved, because there 100% is. But what I am saying is that spirituality and mentality matter just as much, if not more, than biology. And frankly, it's clinically easier to study and ultimately confront the biological deficiencies rather than study and confront the deficiencies in someone's lifestyle or soul. Most of us would much rather be told that we were born with an issue fixable by a pill or procedure than be told that we have glorified and pursued spiritually poisonous aspirations, and that the only way to heal and cure ourselves of this is to reject them and to pursue that which heals us. Considering it is the start of a new year, I don't think there's a better time than now than to share my faith and hopefully inspire or challenge at least 1 or 2 of you who are watching this video to pursue God this year. And this isn't just directed towards my viewers who are non-believers. This is for all viewers, because as I have found, sometimes Christians walk among the farthest paths from Christ. So to all of you, Jesus Christ can and will bring you fulfillment, but you have to commit to pursuing him above all else. We all find ways to self-medicate. I am not making this video as someone who is on the other side of my own issues. I am deep in the middle of them. Anxiety, depression, stress, and sadness. And I have sought ways to distract myself or alleviate the pain over the past few years. And recently, I had to face the fact that I was not pursuing the best things for myself. I'm working towards improving, and every day presents opportunities to do so. And that's ultimately all we can ask of any of ourselves. Some people self-medicate with alcohol, others with sex, porn, drugs, food, video games, the television, even things like traveling or golf can become a form of self-medication. Taken to an extreme, this can include surgeries and procedures that create lasting impacts on our minds and bodies. We run to these things because they distract us. They give us something to pursue that doesn't concern our spiritual health, and they allow us to pretend that we are better off than we are. Some of these things serve as numbing agents, effectively acting as a band-aid to make the pain of life go away, but only temporarily. And most sinisterly, some of these things present themselves as the root cause of our sickness when they are really just a symptom of it. Ultimately, only a very small number of these self-prescribed or sometimes even professionally prescribed medications, pursuits, and diagnoses will truly solve these issues, because the root cause of these issues is that we are spiritually starved. Most of us are craving fulfillment of a hole within ourselves that secular cures can't fill. And so for this year, I implore you, turn to God. God is truly the only being that can offer fulfillment beyond a temporary cure and can actually permanently heal us. I ask you to actively dedicate yourself to him this year and see what life brings you. One of the best and most simple analyses is a cost-benefit analysis. And so ask yourself, what do you have to lose? If God really can bring you this fulfillment, if you stand to gain a happier life, does giving up the items draining you really cost that much? Now, I just want to throw out a disclaimer that if you're taking prescribed medication, absolutely do not stop taking it without speaking to your doctor. Like I said before, there is biology at play, and sometimes we dig ourselves into pits so deep that we need some outside assistance to help us reach equilibrium again. But what I am saying is turn to God. And so you might be asking now, what does that really mean? What does turning to God and dedicating yourself to Him mean? It means seeking God first when faced with your internal demons. Most addictions are formed and reinforced by mental illnesses because we are so quick to turn to ours and society's prescriptions rather than turning to God first. It means trusting and keeping the faith that you are on God's plan and that He has His hand in your life even when you can't feel it. It means praying to God first and resisting your own urges and judgments. And it means turning to His Word and reading the Bible when you feel lost instead of doom scrolling on social media, mindlessly watching hours of TV, or getting sucked into a video game. One of the things that I did, and I ask you too if you are a Christian, ask yourself, do you know more about your hobbies and pop culture, or do you know more about God's Word? And if the answer isn't God's Word, then you're probably prioritizing the wrong things in your life. Seeking God means to love and pursue Jesus and His teachings with all of your being. So many Christians today will tout or show off their faith without living lives that embody Christ. To embody Christ means to spread love and kindness, especially when presented with the opportunity to spread hate or hostility. It means to turn the other cheek. It means to defend those suffering from injustice. It means to be intellectually and emotionally honest with yourself. The term tough love exists for a reason, and this is where so many people seem to struggle. In the Bible, Jesus warns about the very things we are taught to covet in society. Overindulgence, which is seen everywhere in modern culture, is heavily warned against. Drunkenness is described as a subpar substitution to God's love. Lust, which is so important to cover in our era of porn and sexual freedom, is condemned heavily. Jesus' message is so profound, saying that just looking at another person with lustful intent is adultery within your heart. And the same goes for inspiring lust in others. There's been a lot of debate recently about can you be a Christian and do X, Y, and Z, and I'm not going to comment on if you can be a Christian or not, but what I will say is that if you are denigrating yourself and the body God gave you for the approval and attention of society, and ultimately doing this to earn money, fame, or attention, then you are just as bad off as those lusting after you. The most challenging part in all of this is truly turning yourself to God and trusting that He will make sure you are okay. Trusting that you can go without your fix. Trusting that He will deliver you from your sickness. And so I ask you, if God is capable of creating the universe, creating sentient life, and creating the natural order to all of life, then is He not powerful enough to help you overcome whatever issue troubles you? Trust in God that He will bring you fulfillment when the time is right. Trust that He has a plan for you that you cannot see. And that if He has you in a rough place or a place where you feel deeply distressed, trust that through Him you can reach the other side of that and you can regain your sense of strength. Based on where we are heading, I believe that the mental health crisis in this world will continue to grow. And unfortunately, you, the viewer, is more likely than not to suffer from mental illnesses during your life. And so to close out this video, I want you to ask yourself once again, what do you honestly have to lose by taking the chance and giving yourself to Christ?